Here we are getting ready to celebrate Easter in the year 2021. Today, being Good Friday, we remember the crucifixion of Jesus. This day is only good because we know the other side of the story. Think about the pain that God the Father felt, sending his own Son to the cross to be executed for the sins of all humanity. John 3:16 is a familiar verse to many that can sometimes get lost in the, "Oh, I heard that before." But to hear it fresh in a new way is our prayer for this Good Friday. For God loved the world in this way. He gave his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but have eternal life. Think about it. God gave his one and only Son to the grave.
When we think of Good Friday, a lot of times we're always thinking about it from our perspective and what Christ did for us, and we move so quick how we get to Easter Sunday. But in order to understand that he rose from the dead, I think we got to understand the significance of what actually took place on Good Friday. Can we even fathom a verse that is so familiar? A verse that we quote often, John 3:16. For God loved the world in this way. He gave his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but have eternal life. And so Good Friday is a murder scene and eventually a funeral that God allows his own Son to do for me and you. Good Friday isn't something that we just enter in kind of happy-go-lucky, but to go back and just think for a moment. God gave his one and only Son to the grave. How did God feel? Why did his Son have to go to the grave? You know, when you think of Jesus, okay, what would it say? If his tombstone was here, and what's the cause of death? Like, because when somebody dies, people always ask, how did they die? How did they die? What happened? What happened? In this past year, so many of us have faced situations of the grave. And we see our grave But we miss that there's a greater grave and a greater victory, but how that grave was defeated and how that even took place. So Jesus' death is a very fascinating and interesting one for us to consider today. Cause of death by crucifixion. Why was Jesus crucified? He lived an innocent life. He died a sinner's death, but yet he didn't die the death that he deserved. He died the death we deserved. But now get past ourselves. Let's zoom out. Let's find ourselves captivated today. Why would God send his one and only Son to the grave? That doesn't feel amazing. It doesn't sound like grace. The scene that day was very morbid, very horrible. Jesus being whipped, beaten, laughed at while he hung on the cross. People were casting lots, basically playing dice of who could get his clothes as kind of a trophy and a keepsake to say, hey, he's not the Son of God. Over him was King of the Jews. He was strategically placed at the entrance and the exit of a city so people could go back and forth and mock him. His followers are in disarray, grieving at an all-time high. They're wondering, what's going on with our leader? It was a very, very, very dark day. God sent his one and only Son to the grave. This is Good Friday. The emotions, the fears, the doubt, the disappointment. And for a lot of us, it's even tough for us to even process the thought of facing the grave. His grave or the grave in our own life and the grave of others. And why? Number one, it's fear of loss, pain of loss, fear of death. And honestly, the shocking reality that we're confronted with our mortality, but yet the truth of eternity, the weight of that, kind of haunts us, scares us. But there's a mystery to it that we know that the grave should not get the final say. God gave his one and only Son to the grave.